They say a house is just walls and a roof, but I knew better. My house, the one with the deep emerald shutters and the sprawling oak tree in the front yard, was not just a place where I lived. It was the museum of my life. Every scratch on the wooden floor told a story. The day my late husband, Robert, dragged the Christmas tree inside, the tiny, almost invisible chip on the kitchen counter, where my daughter, Clara, dropped her first birthday cake. I was the curator of these memories. And the house, my greatest treasure. Robert built this house with his own hands 45 years ago. He poured every drop of his love, his sweat, and his life savings into it. When he passed away 10 years ago, he left me two things: heart full of unbreakable love, and this house my fortress, my sanctuary, my testament to our life together. My daughter Clara and her husband David often came to visit, not for the memories, of course. They were a modern, ambitious couple. David, an investment banker, was always dressed in sharp suits and carried an air of manufactured success. Clara, my beautiful, successful daughter, had become a stranger defined by her luxury car and the size of her husband's bank balance. Their visits, which used to be filled with laughter, now felt like financial audits. Clara would say, "Mom, this house is a burden. Look at the roof. It needs another $10,000. The heating system is practically antique. Honestly, you should be downsizing. You're 72. Why are you dealing with this stress?" David would quickly chime in, "Clara's right, Ellen. We're just worried about you. Think about the equity tied up in this place. It's dead money. If you sell, we can move you into a beautiful, maintenance-free condo, and you'll have a nice chunk of cash for emergencies." It's smart money management. They didn't see my home. They saw a $400,000 asset that was inconveniently being occupied. I always smiled, served them tea, and gently changed the subject. I had survived the grief of losing my husband. I wasn't about to surrender his legacy to their grief. Then came the day I let my guard down, the day I made the mistake that cost me everything. Clara rushed in one Tuesday morning, frantic, holding a thick folder. "Mom, thank goodness you're home," she said. "Look, it's about Liam's college fund, your grandson. David set up a trust to protect his future inheritance from taxes. It's just a formality, but the lawyers need your signature on a few papers because you're listed on the original will. If we miss this deadline, we lose a huge tax break. It's all highly legal and very boring, Mom. Just sign where I've tagged the pages." I remember my hand trembling slightly as I picked up the pen. A trust for Liam. My heart swelled with pride for my daughter, who was thinking ahead for my grandson. I didn't bother with my reading glasses. Why would I? This was my daughter. She was protecting her son, my blood. I didn't read the lines of cold legal text. I only saw trust, the trust I had given Clara since the day she was born. I signed the 3 pages Clara pointed to. I signed the paper that day, believing I was securing my grandson's education. But what I had actually signed was a quitclaim deed transferring ownership of my entire life, the walls, the roof, and every precious memory from my hands to theirs. The immediate aftermath was strangely quiet, like the calm before a storm. I convinced myself I had done the right thing. Liam would be protected, but a cold knot of anxiety began to tighten in my stomach. David started showing up unannounced, bringing strange men with measuring tapes and clipboards. They didn't introduce themselves. They just walked the perimeter of the house, pointing at the roof and the old chimney, murmuring words like staging and quick flip. When I asked David what they were doing, he would dismiss me with a condescending smile. "Just getting some estimates, Eleanor. Basic maintenance. Don't worry your pretty little head about it." The first real crack in my foundation appeared 3 weeks later. It wasn't a phone call or a harsh word, it was a letter. Pulled the mail from the box, and there it was, a tax assessment envelope, thick and official. The name on the envelope wasn't mine. It read, "To the current occupant, CO new owners, Clara and David Thompson." My hand started shaking. I dropped the rest of the mail on the porch floor. New owners. They had done it already. They had signed the papers, finalized the deal, and my life, my home, was gone. I didn't call Clara. I called Mr. Harrison, the only lawyer Robert had ever trusted. My voice was a brittle wire, stretched thin and ready to snap. I explained the papers, the college trust, the quick signing. There was a long, heavy silence on the line. When he finally spoke, his voice was grave. "Eleanor, I'm looking up the county records now. On Tuesday, July 14th, you executed a quitclaim deed, transferring the property at address details entirely to Clara and David Thompson. There's no trust, Eleanor. There is no protection for Liam. They own the house, and they listed it for sale this morning." The confirmation hit me not as a shock, but as a chilling, absolute certainty. The pain wasn't just the loss of the house. It was the realization that the betrayal ran deeper than greed. It was a calculated, deliberate act of manipulation by my own child. The woman who had dropped her birthday cake on my counter, the girl whose scraped knees I'd kissed better, she had stolen the roof over my head. I demanded they come over that evening. They arrived, wearing the practiced innocence of the guilty. Clara carried a small casserole dish. David brought a bottle of wine. "What's wrong, Mom? You sound frantic," Clara asked, setting the dish down on the kitchen counter, right where the chip was. I pointed to the tax document on the dining room table, the one addressed to the new owners. "The game is over," I said, my voice steady despite the seismic shift happening inside me. Mr. Harrison called. "You sold the house. You tricked me into signing the deed." The mask finally fell. Clara's expression hardened, and David stepped forward, his tone shifting from fake concern to icy corporate indifference. "It's not tricking, Eleanor. It's estate planning." "We did what was best for the asset," David said, spreading his arms wide. "The house sells for a massive profit. You move into a beautiful retirement community, worry-free. We've already picked out a lovely place. You have 30 days to vacate the premises. It's legal, Eleanor. You signed the paper." The only thing worse than hearing the cold legal truth was seeing the triumphant smirk on my daughter's face. The daughter I had loved, the daughter who saw me not as a mother, but as a temporary occupant in their $400,000 investment. My daughter's ultimatum, 30 days to vacate the premises, didn't break me. It hardened me. That night, I didn't sleep in my fortress. I felt trapped in a borrowed room. But despair quickly gave way to a steely resolve. If Clara and David wanted a fight, they would get one, but not from the loving mother they thought they could manipulate. They would get a battle from the woman who survived the Great Recession and the loss of her beloved Robert. My first call was to my younger sister, Jane. Jane had always seen the ambition behind Clara's charm, and she listened without judgment. She became my anchor, the non-financial asset I desperately needed. The next morning, Jane drove me to Mr. Harrison's office. The lawyer listened to the entire story, his face growing darker with every detail. "Clara and David committed fraud in the execution, Eleanor," he finally stated, his voice sharp. "They knowingly misrepresented the nature of the document you were signing. A college trust is not a quitclaim deed. We are going to court, and we are going to fight to have that deed nullified." That week, we filed the lawsuit. The most immediate and satisfying victory came just days later when Mr. Harrison secured a temporary injunction. It was a court order, delivered by a messenger with a stern face, that immediately froze the sale of my house. Clara and David couldn't touch the property. The house was safe, for now. The injunction brought the silence I craved, but it was quickly shattered by the desperate tactics of the opposition. Clara called, crying hysterically, "Mom, please, you're destroying our family. David's bank is freezing his assets because of this lawsuit. Just take the apartment. Stop this madness." I felt a faint, familiar tug of guilt, but I remembered the cold smirk on David's face. I remembered signing away my life for a grandson's imaginary fun. "You destroyed the family, Clara," I said, my voice quiet and firm. "You destroyed it the moment you decided your mother's love was less valuable than $400,000. I hung up the phone and waited for the trial. The courtroom was a blur of mahogany, sterile air, and muffled whispers. Clara and David looked polished and nervous. I felt old, tired, but absolutely grounded. Mr. Harrison meticulously built the case, presenting the deceptive trust documents alongside the actual deed, emphasizing that the word sale was never uttered. He painted a picture of calculated, cruel betrayal. When David took the stand, he stammered, claiming it was a miscommunication, but his facade crumbled under cross-examination. He admitted that their finances were stretched, and they needed the house's equity to save their own investments. Clara refused to even look at me. Then came the final moment. The judge looked over his spectacles, his expression unreadable. He began to speak, detailing the standard of fiduciary duty and the failure of the defendants to uphold the most basic form of familial trust. "The court finds compelling evidence of fraud in the execution," he declared. "The original quitclaim deed is hereby declared null and void. The property ownership is returned to Miss Eleanor Thompson, effective immediately." The hammer hit the block with a resounding sound, a thump that felt like the final nail in the coffin of my daughter's betrayal and the beginning of my freedom. I didn't cheer or cry. I simply stood up, thanked Mr. Harrison, and walked out of the courthouse. As I stepped back onto the sidewalk, I felt the sun on my face. My house was safe. My heart, though wounded, had survived the seismic shift. I had lost a daughter that day, but I had reclaimed my memories, my dignity, and the legacy of the man who built my fortress. It was a steep price to pay, but finally my museum was safe.